Welcome everybody to the SharePoint Framework and JavaScript Special Interest Group. We should actually rename the title. We already renamed the call as SharePoint Framework Community Call, but hey, anyway, so let's get back on this one at some point. And because SIG is not necessarily that well known, it means Special Interest Group and old terminology what we've been using. Anyway, it is June 17th, 2021, and today we'll have a busy call related on updates from the SharePoint Framework side, and we'll talk about the PnP updates, so open source updates. We'll have a community sample updates. There's cool stuff again contributed by community, and then we'll have a quick picture and then 3 demos as well. So quite a busy day, but I think we'll make it for sure. Now, my name is Vesa Juvonen. I'm a program manager in the Microsoft 365 platform level and handling a lot of this community stuff as well. And since Patrick is typically the host here, but he is currently in family leave or a vacation, so I'm taking over that. Now, quick update on the opportunities where you can contribute is that we do welcome people to do demos around development scenarios in the Microsoft 365. So if you want to do a demo of your learnings, what you learned to do, patterns or development practices or sample to show in this course, those are more than welcome. These are great opportunities that also for those people who would like to be an MVP and get more access on the Microsoft Insights and Microsoft people through that channel. Doing demos in this community calls have a big impact on that. You can definitely do another demos as well. So for example, PnPjs demo in this course or any other demos, you can contribute in a GitHub. And the most important thing is to provide feedback. So how are the calls, how is the content, are we doing well? What else can we actually do to help you? So rather than being angry because Microsoft doesn't get it, let's make sure that you share why you are angry, if you're angry. Or maybe you are super happy on some of the calls and some of the demos, and please do share that as well. It is super important that especially those who are doing live demos in this call get the positive feedback on the volunteering and helping others in the community to make things happen. Now, from an asset perspective, URL perspective, there's a lot of assets available. We have 2 different YouTube channels. We have the official Microsoft 365 developer video channel, which is now positioned as for official videos. And then we have the community video channel, which is more for community call recordings, community demos from these calls and all of that stuff. So there's a kind of a clear separation of videos from between the channels. We have a lot of open source assets available in multiple different locations, a lot of sample galleries. We are finalizing the unified Microsoft 365 sample gallery testing right now, which is really cool. So there will be pretty soon a new unified sample gallery where you can go and search for Microsoft Teams samples and SPFx samples, or even list formatting samples or Power Platform samples from one single location. And that's really useful for everybody in the Microsoft 365 area. And if you're wondering that there's too many URLs to remember, no, only one, AKMS M365 PnP. Now, something what we're doing within the summer in the Northern Hemisphere, because it's a summer in the Northern Hemisphere, we're going to actually have some summer breaks in some of the calls. And after the summer, we're also adjusting some of these calls as well. So one of the feedback what we've been getting is that there's too many calls. And some of the calls start at 7 a.m. Pacific time, some at 8 a.m., some at 9 a.m., and it's not super clear when they're happening and which of the time of the month they're actually happening. And that's basically the map of those calls from a monthly perspective, and there's a lot of them. So what we're trying to do here is that we're trying to consolidate. So after our summer break, so first of all, SharePoint Community Call, Microsoft Teams Community Call, Microsoft Graph Community Call will be not happening during July and August, but from the end of August, we will actually introduce the new Microsoft 365 Engineering Community Call, which happens every week at Tuesday at 8 a.m. Pacific time. So you will know when these calls are happening. Like Satya Nadella is saying in his book, consistency is the king and consistency is the key for making sure that people are aware of what's actually happening. Some of these calls, like Power Apps call, will still happen as a monthly cycle, but we're trying to get to this model where we're consolidating to a holistic Microsoft 365 platform, rather than thinking these services as an individual things or a competing things, because they're not. They are part of the Microsoft 365 platform, and they work together really well. And that's what we're trying to do here. Now, there will be a blog post available available next week related on which calls are canceled, which calls are happening, what's going to be happening on summertime, and all of the AKMS addresses are going to be redirected automatically, so you will know is the call happening or not. So we kind of schedule all of these things. Now, quick note, Thursday calls, so this community-focused calls, Thursdays, are happening throughout the summertime as well. Again, summer in the Northern Hemisphere. It is actually winter in half of the Earth as well. Now, quick recap on the other sides. Sharing is caring. David, can you do a quick update in here?
Absolutely, thank you. Well, friends, as you're going to see by the rest of the slides, there are a plethora of resources and tools available to you within our community. They are all welcome for you to contribute back to as well. So we want you to use them, we want you to contribute back, but we understand that there are sometimes some hurdles that will prevent you from doing that. For example, you may not be sure how to navigate GitHub. You may not be sure how to navigate Node or the various versions of SPFx, or how can you get involved and start practicing with being a presenter on these calls? We'd love to see you. Sharing is Caring is a hands-on collection of guidance sessions that will walk you through a number of these opportunities that are available to you, whether you just want to get started using or you'd like to contribute back. Safe space, completely free, hands-on opportunities where you are able to collaborate with members of the PnP team and your fellow community contributors. So please feel free to join. We've got a number of upcoming session topics. We've got even more coming soon. One of the highlights, of course, has been the AMAs, and that schedule for July is on Teams development with Victor Willen and Bob German. So feel free to join us, aka.ms/sharing is caring. Vesa, back to you.
Excellent. Thank you, David, on that one. And then let's do a quick recap on other assets and project updates, what's happening. So first of all, for SharePoint Framework, so what's happening in here, we do have some updated news, which is really, really cool. So first of all, we are executing still the Microsoft Viva Connections preview. So if you're interested on building something on the preview capabilities of SharePoint Framework 1.13, targeted for the mobile experiences, you can actually sign up using the URL, which is visible within the screen. So HTTPS AKMS Viva Connections Preview Register, and then we'll enable you the Viva Connections capabilities within your tenant and get access on preview bits. Now, on those preview bits, because the Viva Connections preview has been insanely popular, there's close to 500 people already signed up. We are actually planning to move to a model where these bits, which basically means SharePoint Framework 1.13 preview, will be available for you to get access for start of end of June. So within upcoming weeks, which is, well, yeah, 2 weeks from now, we're heading to July. So we're planning to get the 1.13 preview out, and that means that then anybody can actually start building Viva Connections cards, because we are a bit struggling on setting up all of the preview capabilities in all of the tenants because of this huge interest related on Viva Connections. So we're trying to make this as easily available for everybody. And obviously, from a SharePoint Framework perspective, Viva Connections and Viva Topics actually big focus area for SharePoint Framework. Microsoft Teams, huge focus area for SharePoint Framework, making that simpler as well. Tools, tooling updates, we're going to do a demo on that one later today as well. By the way, cool Viva Connections demo today as well. And then store modernization is currently, well, it's actually already been approved to get shipped. We're just waiting that to roll out externally, one step at a time. So there will going to be a complete full SharePoint store modernization, including a tenant app catalog modernization and all of that stuff. So we're really investing on all of these areas. Now, moving away from there and heading to the open source projects, let's do a quick update on the PnPjs client-side libraries. And Julie, take it away.
Yes, thank you, Vesa. So the 2.6.0 release happened on June 2nd. We had some really good client-side page improvements with some pre-publishing stuff there. We also had an addition for managing site collection app catalogs, and an addition of the Find Rooms endpoint for user and calendar control in the graph. Of course, always keep your feedback coming. You can submit any feedback or questions or bugs that you think you found to our issue list, and also follow us on Twitter using the M365 PnP JS handle. I also wanted to announce once again that our V3 development is underway. So this is a new version of PnPjs that will have some breaking changes in it, but some really amazing advancements. We're really, Patrick and I are really excited about what we've gotten done so far, and we're working hard on that. You can check out the V3 branch if you kind of want to peek inside and see what's going on. The V3 branch is available, and to see what our plans are, check out issue 1636. It's pinned, and you can see what the plans are, and it links over to discussion areas where all the details are exposed. And that is all I had to share today. Thanks, Vesa.
Thank you, Julie. I also love how this slide is getting more and more animations about the rabbits, everything.
I know, Patrick's gone a little crazy. I like the rabbits with swords. That's, yeah. He's trying to, you know, compete with war horses. I feel for him.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Cool. Oh, that would be interesting. Anyway, so let's move to the CLI for Microsoft 365. So there's a new beta available for version 3.11 with generating SPFx packages for HTML snippet. This is actually really cool. So quite often you need to, for example, embed, let's say, a Google map or something to your modern SharePoint experiences. And this basically auto-generates SharePoint Framework packages for HTML snippets. So basically you can use the CLI to auto-generate solutions, SharePoint Framework solutions, without understanding what the code actually is doing. So you can just copy a HTML snippet and execute that in the CLI. So really, really cool way of making it as simple as possible to embed HTML snippets on a page as well. A lot of additional things as well. SPFx Doctor is moving forward, updating Azure AD app registration, permanently deleting Office 365 groups, and new Microsoft 365 tenant usage reports. A lot of stuff there. There's additional set of sample scripts also available, and you can install the latest version, the beta version, if you're interested in doing that by using the @PnP/CLI Microsoft 365 @next is always the future version. In general, these are released once a month as the major version, so to say. Really cool to see how this is evolving as well. Now, on the SPFx reusable components and controls, the latest version is the 2.7 for the React controls, which are widely used within the web part content. So as an example, by far the most widely used control here is the web part title, which is mimicking what we are using in a SharePoint engineering. So making sure that you can actually take advantage of the similar kind of experiences. And there's new controls available in here as well. So that there's the Teams channel picker, there's the My Teams, and there's additional capabilities there as well. Now, the React property controls are then targeted for use setting up and configuring your web parts and additional things and fixes available there as well. We're right now seeing more contributions in the React control side and in the property controls, which seems to indicate that property controls are getting to be like kind of, they have a good coverage on the business requirements perspective, which is really, really cool as well. We're seeing them used super, super widely throughout the world. And then a quick update on the PnP Modern Search. The latest version is 4.2.3, and you can download that directly from the GitHub as well. Also, I think we are sharing the SPFx file on the Modern Search. So there's a fix for Safari and Legacy Edge issues. So the rendering should be working properly. There's additional translations available, export, import web part settings, because natively within the modern SharePoint, you don't have that. But if you want to move the web part to another site or another tenant, you can easily do that with an export and import capabilities. And a lot of documentation updates here as well. I have to say that because we are closely monitoring how SharePoint Framework is being used worldwide, with tens of millions of monthly active users for custom SharePoint Framework components already, Modern Search actually is one of the #1 components worldwide. So I think sooner or later, maybe somebody will provide first-party experiences, or maybe not. We'll see how that's happening. But clearly, people want to have a search capabilities, and this is providing providing such an awesome set of features already now. And then PnP SPFx samples. I think Hugo, you're going to do this one.
I will. Thank you. So if your boss or your client is asking you to build something using SharePoint Framework and you don't know where to start, lucky for you, we have tons of curated SPFx samples to get you inspired and to get started. We have 2 GitHub repositories, the SPFx extensions and SPFx web parts, where you can find samples contributed by the community, ranging from like simple concepts to, for example, how to use a control, to the full solution and utilities. So we welcome contributions from everyone, and these are the updates for the last 2 weeks since our last call. On the SPFx extension side, we have a new copy PnP web part search result. So copy the settings from one page to another, which makes it easy for you to do. And that was built by Anoop, and it's actually a great solution. We also have by Andre Laga, we have a new follow documents extension, which allows you to use social follow settings to actually monitor documents in a site. On the web part side, we have a new remote events receiver manager, which is now an update by Dan Toft, where he's added support for synchronous and asynchronous event receivers. And we have an update to the carousel, which is upgraded to SPFx 1.12.1. The one thing that we should probably point out here is 3 out of the 4 samples that were updated in the last 2 weeks are updated to SPFx 1.12.1. And this is a great milestone because over the past many years, we've been, really working hard to make sure that all the samples get updated to the latest version of SPFx, just to make it easy for anyone to get started without having to worry about compatibility with Node or the environment they have and everything like that. So I want to thank really all of those who contributed to these updates, and I want to make sure that everyone knows if you want to contribute to these repositories, you don't know where to get started or you don't have any inspiration, taking an old sample and upgrading it to the latest version of SPFx is absolutely a welcome contribution. And if you don't know how to get started, we have sharing is caring to help you get started. So thank you, Anoop, Andre, Dan, and Giuliano for making this repository awesome. And I hope to see more contributions from everyone. That's it for me. Back to you, insert speaker here.
Thank you. Thank you, Hugo, on that one. So let's actually then do a quick group photo for those who are willing to share their faces. It's always a good thing to get that. So I'm going to start the recording. No rush yet, but if you enable a video, you will be soon on the screen. We have a limit of 50 people in these recordings. The black looks different, but it's good. And I can see SharePoint Monkey again there. Good, good. Joining from Lisbon, unless I'm completely mistaken. And let's see when we're filling up the screen. Do we still have 3 seats? Is that Phil? No, no closing. I will actually enable my video as well, maybe taking 1 seat as well. But let's do some hand waving, everybody. So thank you for joining, and thank you. Say hi for the community, and let's stay in touch. Hopefully by end of this year, we can actually see physically each other, maybe in Las Vegas or maybe in Düsseldorf or maybe in any other conferences. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, and excellent. And I will process a quick video on that one as well. Cool. Thank you for that. And then we will go to the demo section of today, and we'll start with Sergey, related on spfx-fast-serve, the faster SharePoint framework development. Take it away.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Sergey Sergeyev. I'm from Belarus, Minsk. I'm SharePoint and Microsoft 365 developer and consultant, also Microsoft MVP under Office development category. Mostly I work as independent contractor. In this demo, we talk about spfx-fast-serve. It's faster SharePoint framework development. So let's go to the demo part. So what is spfx-fast-serve? That's the command line utility which modifies your SharePoint framework build so that it runs continuous serve command as fast as possible. So what does it mean exactly? So let's start with this sample web part. So I have a very simple web part here, which simply outputs your context information. So if you run inside of SharePoint, then it prints your web information using REST API call. If you run inside Teams, then it prints out your Teams context information. So normally, when you develop SPFx web parts, then you have this gulp serve process running. I have it already running here. And when you modify the code, let's say I want to change it like this, and when you click save, then SPFx build pipeline starts a rebuild process which rebuilds TypeScript, packs everything, and finally you can reload your page and see the changes. So for my part here, this process took 7 seconds. So if I, let's say, reverted back like this, click save, then the process starts from the beginning. Again, it's a TypeScript task, then Webpack task, and this time again it's 7 seconds. And I have to refresh to see my changes. So for small projects, it's more or less okay to have 7 seconds, but we developers, we want to see changes instantly. And if your project grows, if your code base grows, then this time, reload time, will be even bigger. For example, I have logs from PnP Modern Search solution, and here when we run gulp surf and when we modify a file, then it takes, for example, TypeScript task. It's almost 8 seconds. Then we have Webpack, 11 seconds. We have copy assets, almost 1 second. In total, it's more than 20 seconds just to rebuild your process of your project after a file save, which is not very convenient in developer experience. So this is what SPFx-fast-serve is trying to solve and is trying to improve, to decrease this reload time. So how to install it? It's very easy. First of all, you should install the CLI globally. So you should npm install SPFx-fast-serve-g. So I have it installed, so I'm not going to run it. Then you should navigate to your SPFx project and simply run SPFx-fast-serve. After this command, fast-serve CLI will update some files inside your SPFx project so that fast-serve mode will be available for you. So let's see what was changed. First of all, that's the package JSON file. It adds this dependency, which is very important dependency because it enables all different helpers and methods for fast-serve mode. Also, the CLI adds a new npm script command here. This command you should run if you want to run your build in a fast-serve mode. Basically, this message says that when you're done, you should execute npm run serve. That's this npm script. Then if we open gulp file here, then it adds these 2 lines. Again, these lines, they are very important because this method add fast-serve finally enables fast-serve mode for your SPFx build pipeline. And then if we go to our root, and then we can find the fast-serve folder, which contains the config file. Config file contains the initial settings you used when running the CLI. And additionally, you have a serve property where you can specify different additional configuration for your serve command. For example, open false means that it does not open the local workbench. You can specify open URL, so the exact URL you want to open. You can modify, for example, login level, full screen errors, etc. So you can change it here. And the last file, which is added by SPFx-fast-serve tool, is webpack.extend file. So again, this file is added to support some advanced scenarios. If you, in your build, SPFx build, if you use this feature called build.configure webpack. So if you use any webpack modifications inside your SPFx build pipeline, so that you should also reapply this configuration into the webpack.extend.js for fast-serve. For example, here I use webpack alias. So this is resolve alias. That's the feature which allows me to write code, to write import like this. So import from @src/etc. So I have it configured here, and also I have it configured here in my webpack.extend.js so that it is also supported inside fast-serve. So let's see it in action, and let's see whether it really improves the performance for my web part. So again, before running in a fast-serve mode, it executes gulp bundle command. This is a required step because this step creates some configuration files needed for fast-serve. That is why this step is always included. And now we are running in a fast-serve mode. And again, if I do the same trick, if I go to components header, and if I change this text to be like 111, click save, and I have to refresh here, yeah, because I'm running from scratch. Okay, let's change it to 222, click save. And you see that this time the rebuild time is drastically decreased. So it's just 300 of milliseconds instead of 7 seconds. And also I can see my changes live in a hosted workbench, which is automatically reloaded. So if I change to 5, click save again, it's 200 of milliseconds. So you see, it is faster. And this is how this problem of slow reload builds is solved by SPFx-fast-serve. Moreover, it works in Teams because if you remember, that's the context info web part. It works in different hosts. If you go to Viva Connections, it works inside Viva Connections. I have a demo page here, so I can change it again to 111, click save. And you see it also automatically refreshes the page inside Viva Connections as well. When I click save, it refreshes again. And if we go to Teams and then to my custom tab here, context info, then it works in a custom tab. So this time the context is Teams. That is why the information here is a bit different, because that's the information from SPFx Teams SDK object. But exactly the same way, you can modify your context. You can click save, and you can see the results of this change almost immediately. So basically, this is how it works, how to configure it. In future, in the next version of SPFx, a new component card extensions will be supported by fast-serve as well. But how it works or why it is so fast? First of all, because fast-serve uses completely custom Webpack-based build, and this build is optimized for performance. For example, all compilations, they are done in memory, so the file system is not used. That is why it's the faster. Also, type checking is fully asynchronous. And the last thing is that when we change anything, like I did before, when we change a React component, then Webpack does not rebuild everything, because by default, SPFx build rebuilds everything if you change a single file. But the fast-serve rebuilds only needed files. That is why incremental builds so faster inside SPFx-fast-serve. And I have a few minutes left, and I would like to show you a feature I added just a week ago. This feature, it is called hot module replacement. So if you have experience with Create React app, probably you know what is HMR, hot module replacement. Basically, as I demoed before, when I change a file or a source code, then Webpack rebuilds my source files, and then finally it refreshes the page. But the idea behind HMR feature is that instead of performing a full page refresh, because sometimes it might be slow to perform a full page refresh, it tries to apply a partial update to the page. So it grabs your changed React component and replaces outdated component on the page with a new one which came from the backend. So basically, this is how this feature works. And to enable, you should set hot refresh to true here. Let's run npm run serve and see how it works in action. Now I'm going to open my styles at the beginning. Okay, let's wait for a while. Yeah, when the fast-serve initially builds the project, then the time is big because it builds everything, but all subsequent builds are a lot faster. Now, let me refresh it again because I'm running from scratch. Now, let's say I would like the subheader color to be red. So I change it to red, click Save. And now you see the magic. It does not perform a full page refresh. Instead, it simply applies a partial update. So if I want background color to be, I don't know, like this, click Save. Then again, it dynamically applies without full page refresh. I can change paging. And again, it does not refresh page. I can even change something inside source code in TypeScript, like this. Click Save, and again, it does not refresh the page. So this feature is considered as experimental because it still requires some configuration. For example, it works only with TypeScript 4. You have to install Rashta compiler 4. Also, you should be aware that it does not work for all components. Sometimes it falls back to the full page refresh. That is why you can try it, and if it works for your project, then you can use this HMR feature. So basically, yeah, this is it from my side. Thank you very much.
Absolutely brilliant stuff. Thank you. Thank you, Sergey, on that one. Really, 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 really cool. So, and there was a lot of comments, why don't we have this native out of the box and supported and all of that? And maybe we will be at some point. So let's see. Right now, it's available as a individual package. And thank you, Sergey. Really awesome stuff. Absolutely. Now, next on the line, we have Julie and Derek. And you're showing something which is shown publicly first time in this call, right? We can see the slides. Take it away.
Great. All right, so let's get started. So we're going to be presenting a project that Julie and I are working on. It's a team clock app. So I'm Derek Cash-Peterson, and I'm here with Julie Turner. We work at some Praxis Consulting out of Boston. And so the big question is, why did we build this application? And the biggest reason for us was that working across time zones is really, really hard. And we have tools like Teams, and that makes it a lot easier. But in general, just sort of like navigating time zones and multiple locations across the globe is just very challenging. We had two main goals with building this app. The first was that we wanted to know exactly what time it was for each member of my team, so that I know if it's okay. I know whether or not somebody is, it's dinner time for somebody or whether they haven't woken up yet. And, especially now that we've all been remote for so long, that line between work and home has been blurred. And so this helps us sort of work that out a little bit better. And the second goal was to have the ability to figure out what time is least horrible for everybody, especially when you need to schedule meetings around the globe. I work with a team in Japan, and I work with a team in Europe, and I'm in the East Coast in the US. And so trying to navigate those multiple time zones is pretty challenging. All right, so that's it for the slides. We're gonna run right into a demo. We've gone and we've built this as both a Teams app and a personal app. So I'm gonna start here with the Teams app. And when you load the application, it automatically pulls in everybody who is a member of the team and gives you a visual representation of where they are in the world and what time it is for them. So you can see over here, we've got Jamie in Alaska, and it's 6:34 in the morning for them. And we've got Carter over in Tokyo, and it's 11:35 in Tokyo. And so we've grouped each person here based on their time zone or what time it is for them. So they may not necessarily be in the exact same time zone, but that's the same time for them based on the offset. We've also provided sort of a handy visual indicator that, for Ken in Chicago and Mike in Dublin, this is our daytime. And whereas we've got Carter and Alex, it's nighttime for them, and it's early morning, evening for Jamie over in Alaska. So it's a really easy way for you to visually see what time is it for folks? So this works for both internal and external users. So we needed to provide a way to manage the different members of the application. So we have a manage world clock members. And from here, if this was a super large team, you could come in here and you could search for a user. And it sort of just comes up and pulls it all. This is a manageable list. We've built it so that you can come in, and especially for external users, you can actually set the time zone for them. So say they're not in Teams all the time, you can come in and I can set Mike's time zone to his time zone in Dublin. Or I can, if I'm traveling, I'm in the New York time zone right now, and I can go ahead and if I'm going to go to Chicago next week, I can change this to Chicago. So that when folks come in and they look, they'll know I'm in Chicago and that's what time it is. And because this is a team app and we sort of make an assumption that teams are more project-based, we also provide the ability to specify which times I'm working on this project. So you can see next to my name, I've got a little profile icon. And so say for this project, I work on it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We've got the entire grid laid out, red being times that you're not working, yellow being times that you might be able to work on this project occasionally, and green is your sort of standard working hours. So if I was working on this Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I could completely block out in red Tuesdays and Thursdays. And this gives you the ability to sort of customize, based on maybe you're working with a team in Asia and you flex your hours. So maybe you work from 4 a.m. to later in the afternoon, and you're done at 2 p.m. your time. So it really provides a level of flexibility here. We also give the ability to create views. Now, like I said, this is 10 users, so it's it's easily digestible. But what if I wanted to create a list of users that were, say, just the UX folks? So I can come in and I can create a new view called UX members, and I'm going to add Alex, Derek, and Stefan. And I'm going to click Save. And now you can see it filters down directly to those 3 people. One thing to know is that there's no security trimming on these. So, don't create a view called people I don't like. But I'm going to switch back to the default view so that I can see everybody. And so that sort of covers the first item there, which is how do I know what time it is? The second goal was how do I schedule meetings? Well, I need to schedule a meeting today with Ken, Julie, and Mike and myself. And so there's a little person icon next to every name, and you click the person icon. And then it goes through and it looks at that schedule, like the one that I just showed for me, and it bases it on their time zone and tries to find the times that work best for everybody. And you can notice that if you sort of click through here, you can scroll through based on the different days. And it looks to me like across the 4 of us, we've got 10 and 11 as the reasonable time. If I hover over this box, I can see it's going to be 9 o'clock for Ken. It's going to be 3 o'clock in the afternoon for Mike. So this works out. So I can click 10, the schedule meeting button lights up, and then I can actually click on it, and it brings me over to a deep link into schedule the meeting in Teams. One thing to note is that external users, Mike is an external user, we don't have the ability to add them directly to the invite line. So we added them to the body, and you can actually copy and paste and just add them in. Okay, so that is the team app. And we also created this as a personal app. The personal app works the same as the team app, with the exception that it pulls your users, the users that you're most closely interacted with via the graph, as well as your contacts from your Outlook. So this is the personal app, and you can see we've got a few different users here. These are pulling some folks that are in my contacts. Like I said, the biggest difference here with this one is that because it's a personal app, it pulls folks that you are connected to via the graph. And also, folks can't, they don't have the ability to edit your personal app. So you can actually set their time zones and their profile themselves. So we've got Stefan here, and I know he's in Vienna, so I can set his time zone here. And I can also set his working hours here as well, because obviously folks can't do that. I can also go into Azure AD and I can add a new member, and I can search for Jane say I got a new, you know, a new employee. I'm a manager and I got a new employee. They got added, so I can click the add button. And now Jane is part of my team, and I can adjust and put this together as well. So I can set her to Melbourne. She's in Melbourne, and I click save. And now this will update and put her in the appropriate spot. This refreshes periodically, so you don't actually need to refresh the page. She'll just pop up. And again, same functionality. You know, if I'm a manager, I can select director. I can create a view of my direct reports, and I can try to schedule a meeting with all of those people. So I can come in and I can go like this and go, wow, there's really not a good time between all of these people and all of these time zones. So I can look and I can say, well, 5 a.m. for me is really bad. And so I can sort of start talking to people and see whether or not it makes the most sense, or maybe Jane doesn't attend the meeting, and then we've got a little bit more. No, we don't. A little bit more wiggle room. And so that's the personal app. Julie, did I miss anything?
No, I think you did fine. All right,
and
let
now
me
I'll hand it over
quickly
to
share.
Julie.
Yeah, let me quickly share my screen. Okay, so let me see. Are we sharing? I've got red.
Yep.
Everybody can see. Okay, so I'm showing the Viva Dashboard. And so again, this is preview code using the 1.13 beta 5 release of the Viva Connections preview that's out for some users that are in the preview. And so what I've done here is built a dashboard card for that World Clock app. So this World Clock app is only gonna, this Viva Dashboard item is only gonna show personal information. So what it does is when you click on the card itself, then it's gonna deep link into Teams. And when you come into Teams, I'm gonna just use the web client because it's easier. It's gonna take me right to the World Clock app. And then what I can do is I have this added button that says View Team. And when I click the View Team button, then I get all the members of my different views. So if I had 3 views, I have a family view here, I have my friends view, and you can see that it shows all the people that are in that view, what time it is for them, and the addition of whether it's day or night with that cool little sun slash moon type of icon. And then the last feature functionality is we have on each one of these cards this schedule a meeting button. So when I click the schedule a meeting button, that does a deep link passing in the view ID so that when we come into the World Clock app, we get right into that view that I clicked on. And now we can go through the process of scheduling a meeting and picking a time that works for that team. So visually, that's what the this personal app does. So now let me do the code review, and hopefully I can get through this in some quickness. So we've got in our SharePoint Framework solution, we've got 2 sections here. We've got the web part for the World Clock, and in that section there, we have all the services and everything we needed to make that World Clock app work. And then we have the new addition of the adaptive card extension. So if we go into the adaptive card extension folder, we can see that we have all the code to manage that. And so we're going to start by going into the team time zone adaptive card. And so we'll have an on init function, and we have this in our web part as well that we use as the Teams tab or the personal app. So we do need to configure things. So we register the cards that we are going to use, the card itself and the quick view. With some initialization for the PnP logging and to set up PnPjs. And then we also have there on lines 49 and 50, where we're initializing our World Clock service. And so that passes in all the information it needs. We are using the personal app version, so it's going to initialize it for that. And then it's going to set the state of the dashboard app. So we have the current config. So that's that blob of JSON that is the configuration for the personal app. So it's all that information about that, what our default view is, and then the base Teams URL for the deep linking for the teams. And so then now if we go and look at that card view, the card view is super simple in this example. It's really just specifying the card view, so we don't have to specify a template because that we've picked which template we want, and in this case we're going to use the basic card view, but we do need to pass in the data that we're going to use. And again, this is pretty hard coded. We just have a string for the title and a string for the primary text. That icon property is set to this icon black and white, which is an import from a file in our assets. If we look at this image.ts, we can see that we defined the image in there, and that's passing it back into the card view. So it loads the nice little image of the black and white logo for the solution. Now, the more interesting piece of this is in the quick view. So if we come into the quick view and we zoom in here on the code, what is really happening here? Same as the card view, but for the quick view, we have to specify our template, or we want to specify our template, and we want to specify our data. So the two are going to merge together, and then all the places where in our template we have data placeholders, the data will then merge together. So it's exactly like a mail merge in Word, to be honest. So we've got our data function here, and in our data function, at first, well, let me see if I can use my laser pointer here. So we've got our laser pointer here, and so we're going to get the view, which is going to get the, remember I set this current config on the state. And so we're going to get the views, and the current, based on the current view, we're going to get that view. So now we have that view, and we're going to look at all the members in the view, and we're going to then create the data set the way the template will understand. So we're going to walk through each member and figure out what their current time is. So that line right here, line 53, is going to go get the current time based on their time zone. I'm going to show you that function in just a second and add them to this members list. And then last but not least, it's going to set up the URL for the deep linking. So it takes that base URL and adds this sub-entity ID with the view ID so that it can deep link into Teams, and the world clock web part that is in the Teams tab or in the personal app knows how to unravel that sub-entity ID to load us right into the right view. So that's going to load into that. And then this is the get time function. And so each member, if you notice when Derek was doing his demo, has a time zone. And so when we want to get the time for a member, we're going to look at what their time zone is, and then get their time, and then based on what hour of the day it is, we're going to set a property to whether it's day or night for them. So once we have that information, then when we render the card using the template, and here's the template, we can show that nice little icon one way or the other. Now, I'm going to just quickly run through this. So we have this header here. This column set is the header, and you can see this first column section here, lines 14 through like 22. This is the previous button. So that's that back arrow that scrolls through the view. We have the previous, and then as we scroll down, we have the title block, and then we have the other section, which is the next button. So that's that header right there. And then we have another container that shows it is going to be an array of items based on the members object. So line 64, right at the top there, you can see it's looking at the members piece of our data that is an array of members. And so then it's going to put the display name and the current time. And if I scroll down here a little bit more, based on which icon, if they're day or night, it's got a nice URL to an image so that it knows which icon to put. And then last but not least, we have that schedule a meeting button down at the bottom that's going to have the URL for the deep link to schedule a meeting. So let's come back quickly into the quick view and scroll down and look at that on action. So this is where the previous and next buttons work. So when we come in here, we're going to check the action type. And then if the action is the previous button, then I'm going to go find the view that was previous in the list, and I'm going to set up the new view ID, and then I set the state on line 81. And when you set the state on line 81, what it does is remerge the template with the data, refreshes the data, and you get a new merged card. And so that's how it changes what it looks like. It's the same as a render method in React. So then we have the next, and that does the same thing. All right. And so that's all my code.
And Julie, I know
Yes.
that you've been scripting this and everything. Can we go back on the JSON structure, and just to go back on the JSON file where you showed the cards, and just to kind of explain for those who are not familiar yet on the private preview, that this is basically the adaptive card rendering mechanism of the card. So whatever you're seeing in the card is basically an adaptive card, but
Yeah.
you can then react on those things in SPFx. Is that the right way of saying that?
Yeah, so what you're talking about is the template. Can you
Right.
see that? I just scrolled it into view.
Yep.
So you're saying that in the template, right? So this is our header here, this column set right here in these columns. So that was our header. In the members section here, this members is the thing that gets the data from the data structure in here. So over here, I said that I was going to have members, right, in our data structure, and I'm going to set that in our return value. So I'm returning from our data, the quick view data, and the interface for that is the title, the URL, and the members. So this data structure is what is passed into that template. And so if we go back to the template, whoops, sorry, wrong button. If we go back into the template, this string, this format here says which data object I want to use to render into this template. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
these are
And given the timelines and everything else, I'm going to skip my demo, the real live demo. I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes. But can you go back still on the solution? I show the card one more time, and let's talk about that a bit, just to educate everybody in this call. So first of all, Viva Connections is going to go to preview later this year in summer or autumn timeframe. But from a UX perspective, starting from the 1.13, you can already start building these cards, which we'll see in a second.
Yep, hold on, let me just pull it back over. I'm reloading my page, so
yep, no worries.
There it
and
goes.
basically, these are then those cards which are in the Viva Connection mobile. So you, as a customer or as a partner, you can build a mobile experience, a native mobile rendered experience, which will be super fast, rendered efficiently, where you can implement using SPFx these card models. And obviously, it doesn't look precisely like this when you're rendering that in a mobile experience. We will show all of that gradually in the demos. And if you saw the demo from the last time on the SharePoint Framework, SharePoint Framework community call, you potentially well, we have shown some of the demos related on how this renders in the mobile areas as well.
Yep.
But this is basic idea here is that you will have the Viva Connection application where we have different kind of cards. People can design their experience, and then individual card behind of individual cards, there's an application, an experience. But you can quickly, for example, check, like in this case, this application, you can use that to check what's the time zones of my team and my closest working colleagues. And then if needed, you can go directly deep linking to the application. So in the mobile device as well. And that's where we are kind of heading with the Viva Connection mobile experiences as well. So really, really cool stuff. From that perspective. Now we have 2 minutes, so I'm going to steal back. Thank you for that demo. Really, really cool stuff, Julie and Derek. So let's do just a quick recap on what we have in the Teams Toolkit V2. I will reschedule that demo, a slightly longer demo for a future time period, or maybe I'll do a demo recording and put it into YouTube. So at least I have one slide. So just to recap on the one of the announcements in the build 2021 a few weeks back was that as part of the Microsoft Teams Toolkit version 2, which is currently in preview, you can actually also build experiences using SharePoint Framework. So we're kind of integrating the same SharePoint Framework experience to the Microsoft Teams Toolkit. So when you're creating a solution, it's going to ask, are you planning to host your UX in Azure or in the SharePoint Framework or in Microsoft 365. And basically, if you're a web stack developer and implement stuff using TypeScript, you're going to choose SharePoint Framework. Or if you're an ISV and you have everything hosted externally and you're familiar with Azure platform, you're going to choose Azure. And that's basically how we're differentiating this thing. So SharePoint Framework is really the easiest way to build enterprise applications in the Microsoft 365. If you're an ISV, then you're going to obviously use alternative options. AKMS Teams Toolkit is the URL to get started and download and get additional information. We would love to get your input and feedback on this one. So if possible, if you have ideas how we can improve this, please let the team know. The team is from the Visual Studio organization, and they would love to get more input around the SharePoint Framework experiences in this tool. If something seems obvious for you as a SharePoint Framework developer, please write it down still. It is a new organization, new team who's trying to help us to be successful with this. So we need that feedback in the GitHub. So github.com/Office Dev, Teams FX, and issues. There's a support available to Stack Overflow. SPFx experience right now in this one is relatively simple, but we're planning that there's a lot of plans to improve that. So Yeoman generator for SPFx not going to go away. Obviously, everything what you have right now not going to go away. The experience is still exactly based on the same model you're building on top of the familiar SharePoint framework in this tool as well. So it's just a combination how we merge things together. So good. I think that's it for now. We're hitting the hours, so the recording will be available within 24 hours on the Microsoft 365 Community YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter. The next SharePoint Framework call 2 weeks from now on 7 a.m. Pacific time. Next Microsoft 365 General Development call on June 24th, so a week from now. And in general, like we discussed, there will be changes in the community call. So we are at least merging Microsoft Graph, Microsoft Teams, and SharePoint calls, and they will not have calls during July and August. So the bi-weekly calls on Thursday will happen. The July-August calls for the monthly calls for Graph and Teams and SharePoint will be cancelled. I will push out a blog post on this one next week, so everybody will be up to date. Then we'll do redirections of the URLs and all of that stuff and all of that. So should be good. But thank you everybody from the demos today. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Sergey. Really awesome stuff. Absolutely brilliant demos. And there's a bunny again on the screen. I saw that. And thank you for the attendees, and thank you for your feedback, and keep the feedback coming. Thanks everybody. Let's stay in touch. Bye-bye.